Welcome to United Network News, the official news channel for CARE, the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. I'm Sunny Galt. At UNN, you get the real news. Through our field messengers, we show you the truth about what's really taking place in our communities. We also bring you stories to help you remember who you are and why you're here, as well as regional stories that impact the people. And our World Situation Report reveals what's happening throughout the multiverse. We are here to restore Earth. In the U.S., it is Friday, May 10th, 2024. It's the largest salt mine in Europe, and today you'll get a tour of this hidden wonder located inside a mountain. In Ireland, we'll learn more about this walking trail, complete with giant sculptures and lots of wildlife. Ever wonder what food to feed our pets? Here's a hint, it probably isn't labeled as dog or cat food. In Kenya, a national doctor strike that began in March is now over. Learn more about the agreement made between the doctors and the government. Ukraine is running out of soldiers in their battle against Russia. A new law now allows them to pull recruits from an unusual place, prison.
This is Calen Gipp, messenger for United Network News. Here's a look at today's field messenger reports from all around the world. In the heart of the Carpathian Mountains in Romania, you will find Europe's largest salt mine. It is renowned for its therapeutic healing benefits, particularly for respiratory problems. UNN field messenger Monica takes us on a tour of this fascinating place.
Hi, I'm Monica, field messenger for UNN, reporting from Romania. In the heart of the Carpathian Mountains lies an underground treasure and therapeutic refuge called the Slănic Prahova Salt Mine. This salt mountain has been an important center of salt excavation for many hundreds of years. Hidden wonders like an underground labyrinth and the mysterious atmosphere await those who are prepared to journey into this world. Sometimes guests are welcome with bread and salt before they enter the depths of the earth, being over 200 meters deep. As you enter the salt mine, you will be amazed by the huge rooms up to 7 meters high. One of the most fascinating attractions here is the artistic waterfall, which is made up of salt blocks carefully arranged in a specific structure to create the sensation of a natural waterfall, although there is no moving water. On the walls, as in an abstract drawing, we can admire the alternation of stripes in an amazing variety of textures and colors, from whites to grays to warm earth tones. In some areas you will find colors ranging from pink to orange and purple. Our fantastic journey ends, and the salt therapy has worked. You feel more at peace with yourself, and your breathing is as easy as you have ever known. Thank you for watching. Bye!
A quaint town in Ireland called Tallow is known for its historical landmarks, scenic beauty and welcoming atmosphere. UNN field messenger Mariola shows us her favorite walking trail in this town.
Welcome everyone, here's Mariola, a field messenger for United Network News. Today I would want to show you a little bit of a town where I live for the last 15 years. And I wanted to start with the Ramp Burin Walk. It's a loop 3 kilometers long where actually you enter here and go around the town. But when you enter the ramp Borin, you have a car park here and an amazing painting, benches as well, so you can sit down. But I will want to show you a sculpture of a dragon. So, when you get into the car park, here is this beautiful sculpture of two-headed dragon. Look at the heart in the middle. It's beautiful. We have an owl as well, if you wish, watcher, but you can meet the rabbit as well in here, so as the fox. Now, this is what you can actually see while being on your walk on the ramparting. Here is the last place I want to share with you, which is my own garden and a piece of my own heaven. This is what I see it when I wake up early in the morning, when I watch the sunrise. Much love to you all.
We want you to become a UNN field messenger. These are everyday people just like you who want to make a difference in their community. You don't need any special training or equipment. Just use the camera on your mobile phone and show us what's happening in your area. You send us your videos and our production team will create the report for you. Our new website is now up and running at unitednetwork.earth. You can submit your Field Messenger reports directly through the Field Messenger tab at the top of the page. You can also email your reports to our new email address at fieldmessenger@unitednetwork.earth.
Hey, I'm Kirsten from Switzerland.
This is Wayne from Tucson.
Hi, my name is Desmond from Ghana.
I am Claudia from Dawsonville, Georgia.
I'm Mikey from Pretoria, South Africa.
Hi, I'm Steve McGrath, Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada.
People from all around the world are coming together.
Happy day, beautiful world. We are here in a rather small urban garden, and this video is just to show you the joys that we've had in this garden with electric gardening.
When news happens in their area, they show us what's really going on.
We have people in the streets protesting for and against.
At United Network News, our field messengers are changing the face of news.
This is Field Messenger Helen reporting with nature, and I'm going to talk to you about the bees again.
Take the next step in restoring our planet. Become a UNN Field Messenger today.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from South Africa. If it's going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to me. It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to all of us. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news.
More and more people are starting to question the food they're eating. They're going beyond labels and marketing material to really look at the ingredients, which begs the question, shouldn't we also be questioning the food we give our pets? Dr. Jeff Feynman is a holistic veterinarian who helps empower pet parents by bridging the gap between conventional veterinary medicine and holistic health. I recently asked Jeff about what type of food is best for our pets. So today we're talking about our pets, and Dr. Jeff is back with us. So Dr. Jeff, one of the big questions I know that I have as a parent to a pet is what to feed my dog. And I know we all have different types of pets, and I get that. It'd be kind of hard to go through the entire list of what we consider a pet. So for today's conversation, I love to just talk about cats and dogs. So what should cats and dogs be eating? Because I kind of get the no, people shake their finger at me when I give my dog a piece of apple or something, that I would eat that's good for my body. It's like we've been ingrained to think that it's got to come from a bag that says pet food or a can that says cat food or whatever. But what is your take on that? What should we be feeding our cats and dogs?
Sorry, I could answer this in a lot of different ways, but I think the bottom line is if it's good for us, it's good for them.
Okay.
There are a few exceptions to foods like grapes and raisins and chocolate that we want to avoid feeding our dogs and cats, but I think the general rule is the freshest food possible, fresh, not processed, or dog food, which is ultra processed, or cat food, which is ultra processed. Fresh, varied, and in moderation. So those three words are really the three things that I focus on the most. And again, fresh means fresh food versus processed or ultra processed foods. So fresh meat, fresh veggies, fresh. Again, if it's good for us. I mean, there's a wonderful book called The Fresh and Flexible Diet, which talks about basically sharing our food with our animals, knowing what may be good or bad in one way or the other, and not sharing your pizza, not sharing your McDonald's, but rather, you've got nice wholesome salads or the apples that you mentioned. Yes, it's good to be sharing, and actually the more variety the better. They have become adapted to eating one food only all the time. So if you change their diet, if they've been eating one food all the time, you change the diet, they may get diarrhea, and the vet will say, well, see, change his diet. It's like, no, it's not really the understanding of balance, because balance means that you're resilient enough to have any diet, any food in your diet, and you want to expose them to all kinds of food. And you mentioned the fruits. Anything but grapes and raisins is fine in the fruit realm. My favorites are wild blueberries, organic kale. I mean, you never know. My cats steal the salad out of our salad bowl. You never know what they're going to like. They're all individuals like snowflakes.
Yeah, that's a good point, because that's how we are as humans, right? Some people like tomatoes, sometimes, some people don't like tomatoes. So it's not that all dogs or all cats like certain things. They all have their own individual tastes as well.
And I do want to bring in the one other thing, I'm really a big fan of species appropriate, feeding the food that you're meant to be eating. Whether it's meat for a carnivore or, a vegan diet for people, because I think the research is very clear that veganism is good for people in general, and that many health problems will go away. But the other factor I want to bring in was sustainability. I think that maybe we want to have our pets on a reducitarian diet. So maybe not vegetarian, maybe not vegan, but reducing the amount of meat that's in their diet and focusing more on the fresh fruits and vegetables and good phytonutrients. But I'm afraid you may get a bunch of correspondence about this, because there's a big, strong advocacy among a bunch of dog and cat people that only want to feed meat.
Okay.
And that's great if that's all that your animal wants. But I firmly believe that we need to offer meat and offer something else. There are some individuals that'll choose the broccoli and the bread over the meat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and when the pet food on the bag says with chicken or whatever, that's not really what we're talking about here, guys. All of that stuff is processed. But it's amazing to me how much we just go to that, and how it's ingrained in so many people's brains that, well, it says dog food, or it's wet dog food, or it's, that's better than dry. Is there any truth to that, by the way, something being wet versus dry?
That's a great question. There's more carbohydrates and fillers in the dry foods. And from my point of view, it's really about the vitality of the food, the energy in the food.
Okay.
And yeah, the wet food is going to have a higher vitality than the dry food. And actually, there's more and more evidence that actually many of the dry foods have something in them called, and actually the wet food can as well, but not as much as the dry, advanced glycation end products that can actually be instigators for cancer and other disease.
Oh, wow. In South Yorkshire, wildlife photographer Simon Dell has transformed his garden into a whimsical mouse village featuring a pub, bookshop, and hobbit homes, attracting significant attention worldwide. Originally crafted to safeguard a mouse named George from neighborhood cats, this mini shire has grown into a sanctuary for about 20 mice, winning the hearts of more than 150,000 social media followers. Using recycled materials, Dell constructs each piece of this mouse haven by hand, ensuring the mice have luxuries similar to a human village, from dining sets to miniature boats. His creation serves as an artistic outlet, helping him battle depression, and offers educational insights into wildlife through his captivating photography. Dell's plans for further expansions include a train station, cafe, and theater, continuing to inspire joy and creativity within his community and beyond. Volunteers across Europe are coming to the rescue of frogs and toads during their annual migration to breed. Many amphibians risk being killed by cars as they cross busy roads to reach their breeding ponds between January and April of every year. Active for more than 20 years in the UK, the Toads on Roads project coordinates local volunteer patrols and has mapped migratory crossing sites. Initiatives include installing warning signs, sometimes even closing roads, and even picking up the creatures to carry them safely across roads in buckets. Some European countries incorporate protective measures like tunnels or fences in new road construction to help safeguard amphibians during their mass migration. The significant losses amongst local toad populations have been greatly reduced wherever there is a patrol, thanks to the efforts of these nature-loving volunteers. Scientists have made a groundbreaking discovery by having a conversation with a humpback whale named Twain in southeast Alaska. This incredible interaction involved playing humpback whale calls back to her. This led to a series of responses from Twain, including calling back and swimming around the researchers' boat. Through careful analysis of the whale's calls, scientists were able to gauge her excitement during the conversation. By synchronizing their response times with Twain's, researchers prolonged their interaction time. This study showcases the sophisticated communication of humpback whales and opens up new possibilities for understanding and connecting with these majestic creatures. We are United Network News. Every day, we release real stories from real people all over the world.
Field Messenger reporting from Gold Coast, Australia,
Denmark,
Canada,
Uganda,
from Atlanta, in Southern California.
In their own words, people like you share what's really happening in their area. At UNN, you are the news. You are creating a new world with infinite possibilities. You are the restoration plan. Come join us for the real news every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, only on United Network. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news. In Kenya, a national doctor strike that began in mid-March has finally concluded following a return to work agreement with the government. This strike, sparked by demands for better wages and working conditions, severely disrupted public health services, leaving millions without access to necessary medical care. This resolution was reached shortly after a labor court's mandate, giving both parties a 48-hour ultimatum to reconcile or face further legal action. The situation was particularly dire as the country also struggled with the impacts of severe flooding affecting thousands of people since the season's start. Also in Kenya, a series of home demolitions triggered by flooding has deeply impacted families following government warnings to evacuate flood-prone areas. Homes in Nairobi and other regions were bulldozed after a deadline passed, leaving residents distraught and some facing tear gas from security forces implementing the eviction. To mitigate the situation, evicted families are offered $75 each for relocation purposes. The heavy rains have been deadly, with the toll including 2 children being killed during these demolitions. Criticism has been directed toward the government for not providing adequate resettlement plans for those affected. The Interior Minister has extended evacuation orders following a fatal incident where a railway tunnel breach has led to numerous deaths and further home destruction. Australia has introduced new laws to combat money laundering through its real estate market. This decision comes after new information has revealed criminals, particularly from China and Cambodia, have been using dirty money to buy property, with recent findings highlighting more than $1 billion laundered in 2020 alone. The initiative is expected to close gaps that have made Australia a prime destination for laundering illicit funds. It also raises concerns amongst real estate agents and small businesses who now face the added burden of stringent regulatory requirements. Agents will undergo education programs to identify and report suspicious transactions effectively. The Real Estate Institute of Australia has raised concerns about the additional workload and clarity around these new responsibilities. Ukraine has approved a law allowing certain prisoners to join the armed forces due to a pressing military personnel shortage due to ongoing conflicts. Now, this decision overturns Kiev's previous stance, which has criticized Russia for similar practices. The new law permits prisoners with less than 3 years remaining on their sentences to volunteer for service. It excludes those convicted of severe offenses, such as sexual violence and serious corruption. This move has sparked mixed reactions, with some advocating for the measure as a means for prisoners to contribute to their country's defense. Critics express concerns over potential discrimination and the treatment of prisoners, fearing the creation of special units could lead to abuses, drawing parallels to Russia's use of convict soldiers in high-casualty assaults. In England, university students face a severe cost of learning crisis, struggling to cover basic living costs as government assistance declines. Analysis shows the real value of maintenance loans. Financial aid for living costs is at its lowest in nearly a decade, creating a significant financial shortfall for students. This shortfall affects poor student studies and puts added pressure on middle-income families to support their children's education. Students are forced to work long hours or depend on family contributions, affecting their studies and quality of life. The inflation surge has aggravated this issue, with students now finding themselves worse off compared to 4 years ago. University leaders and education policy experts are calling for urgent revisions to the government's student support system to address these financial challenges. Critical drug shortages in England are putting patients at risk, with pharmacies unable to fulfill complete prescriptions. The shortages, affecting hundreds of drugs, are causing significant distress amongst patients, leading to delayed treatments and, in some cases, emergency hospital visits. Community Pharmacy England reports widespread issues with medicines for conditions like type 2 diabetes, ADHD, and epilepsy becoming hard to find. This has led to an increase in owings, where patients are asked to return later for the remainder of their prescriptions. The crisis has resulted in pharmacists facing abuse and hostility from frustrated patients unable to access their prescribed drugs. Experts attribute the shortages to global supply issues, Brexit-related market disruptions, and the UK's less attractive pricing for manufacturers. Swedish researchers have found that shipping companies cleaning their emissions with scrubber technology are harming the Baltic Sea's environment, impacting surrounding communities. These scrubbers, aimed at cutting down air pollution, end up dumping more than 200 million cubic meters, which is nearly 53 billion gallons, of toxic water into the sea each year. This is causing serious acidification and polluting the water with heavy metals and harmful chemicals. This pollution poses serious risks to marine life and the livelihoods of those dependent on the sea. Countries like Denmark, Germany, France, and Portugal are already setting limits, and Sweden and others might do the same. With the shipping industry benefiting from using cheaper fuel, there's now a push for them to switch to safer methods. More than 1 million people have been displaced due to the Saudi government's ambitious Vision 2030 projects, including the Line and Jeddah Central. Reports highlight the forced evictions and demolitions of homes with minimal notice, causing widespread distress amongst the local population. Despite promises of compensation, many affected individuals have claimed the payments to be insufficient or non-existent. Human rights organizations have raised concern about the detentions and charges against those who resisted or publicly mourned these evictions, with some facing terror-related accusations. Figures suggest at least 47 individuals were detained and 40 remain in detention, with 5 facing the death penalty. Critics have voiced their discontent, emphasizing the need for ethical development that considers local populations. Protests have erupted in northern Afghanistan over Taliban efforts to eliminate opium poppy cultivation, critical for the livelihoods of many farmers. Now, the movement has led to violent clashes, resulting in 2 fatalities as security forces responded. The government is pledged to address these casualties, mentioning compensation talks with families. The crackdown is part of a larger campaign to ban narcotics cultivation, despite the economic reliance on many Afghan farmers on opium production. The region, which has seen an increase in poppy cultivation, is critical for Afghanistan's economy, especially for the impoverished farmers who depend on this crop. Authorities claim to have regained control, emphasizing a collaborative effort with locals to cease poppy farming. Hong Kong's appeals court has allowed the government to make the protest anthem "Glory to Hong Kong" illegal under national security laws, reversing a previous court decision. This ruling raises concerns over shrinking freedoms in the city, as the song, which emerged during the 2019 pro-democracy protests, symbolizes resistance against eroding democratic freedoms. Banned in schools since 2020 and already leading to arrests, such as a harmonica player outside a British consulate, the decision highlights the tightening grip on expressions of dissent. Individuals can now face life imprisonment for using the song to incite secession or against the government. The prohibition extends to using the song to advocate for Hong Kong's separation from China or as the city's anthem. Critics argue this suppresses freedom of expression and contravenes international human rights law. Chinese car dealers are quickly shifting from selling traditional gas-powered cars to electric vehicles, or EVs, keeping up with market trends and customer preferences. Major dealer groups are closing unprofitable dealerships that sell imported gas cars and are instead expanding their EV brand stores. This strategic switch is driven by electric cars becoming more profitable and in demand. Data indicates a decrease in the number of gas car dealerships, contrasting sharply with the rise in EV outlets. Foreign and local car manufacturers are reconsidering their sales strategies. Some are exploring partnerships with dealers to widen their distribution networks, moving away from the direct-to-consumer model that has been popular amongst EV makers. Puerto Rico has declared a state of emergency in response to severe flooding and landslides caused by heavy rainfall. The extreme weather affected 22 municipalities, bringing more than 10 inches of rain in just 2 days, particularly impacting the island's interior. Streets transformed into rivers and numerous waterways overflowed, rendering several roads impassable. Authorities reported one person missing and many residents trapped by rising waters were rescued from rooftops. The flooding has caused significant damage to agricultural areas across the island. In the U.S., the buy now, pay later industry has surged, with major financial institutions and online retailers adopting the model for consumer convenience. This system allows shoppers to split purchases into installments, typically without interest or fees if payments are punctual. However, the practice is drawing scrutiny from regulators and consumer advocates. Concerns include potential late fees, hidden interest when linked with high-interest credit cards, and the risk of loan stacking, taking multiple loans from different providers. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has highlighted these issues, emphasizing the model's appeal to financially vulnerable consumers. Despite this, companies claim they provide a financial lifeline, especially for those who don't get much support from traditional credit systems. Yet, missed payments can lead to debt collection, affecting consumers' financial standing. The Los Angeles Unified School District, the second largest in the United States, is facing a significant decrease in student enrollment, prompting discussions about the future of its schools. This decline is partly due to the rise of charter schools, with nearly 109,000 students now attending these independently run but publicly funded schools in the area. The district plans to attract more families by rebranding schools around themes and expanding pre-kindergarten programs. Despite efforts, the superintendent anticipates further enrollment declines. The trend mirrors national patterns of falling fertility rates and families moving out of large cities. Educators and board members express concern over the challenge of downsizing, but recognize the need to adjust to demographic shifts and declining enrollments. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, has introduced stricter regulations for dogs entering the U.S. from abroad, effective starting August 1st. The updated rules, replacing a temporary order from 2021, mandate all dogs must be at least 6 months old, microchipped, and vaccinated against rabies if coming from high-risk countries. The move aims to curb the import of rabid dogs and tackle the issue of fraudulent vaccination documents. About 1 million dogs are brought into the U.S. annually, prompting these changes to ensure public and animal health safety. The regulations also include additional measures like blood testing, depending on the dog's previous location, within the last 6 months. The CDC's action has received mixed reaction from pet relocation professionals and animal welfare groups, highlighting the challenges and implication for those moving pets internationally.
Tired of being programmed? At United Network, you'll discover the truth about what's really happening on our planet. Get instant access to our written news, UNN newscasts, world situation reports, and in-depth stories from our field messengers. Manifest your amazing abilities as we explore the new Earth. Plus, original series to inspire and encourage you throughout your day. Get connected through United Chat, our personal chat room where you can join the conversation, share your experience, and also submit your questions for Kim. Watch United Network at home or on the go through your computer, favorite online streaming program, or mobile apps.
Welcome to United Network News.
Start your free trial today. UnitedNetwork.Earth, bringing people together.
And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. The invisible glass ceiling is real. How the deep state created control systems of all industries worldwide, and what you need to know. The CDC, FDA, and the World Health Organization have been circulating internal memos about the possibility of creating a bird flu pandemic. Will they succeed? And a status update on ongoing operations against the deep state. Now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hey, Kim.
Hello, Sunny. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. We made it.
I almost didn't make it. I know. I was running so late, mainly just because I've been really busy this morning. And part of it, or most of it, has to do with ongoing operations, statuses, and of course, well, we'll talk about that towards the end.
Okay.
But anyway, everything's going pretty well. So I'm happy about the results so far. Okay. One thing I want to talk about, which I feel is really, really important to understand moving forward. Mm-hmm. So again, the CARE organization is responsible, and that means multiple people, it's not just one person, will be responsible for completing a restoration of all systems of society in which we live. Mm-hmm. So the way we get our food, the way we get our water, the way we house ourselves, travel, everything has to be revamped and revised. And as a part of that, it's important to understand what I call the invisible glass ceiling, because this will come up and will be a problem and is going to be a system unto itself that we need to unwind. Mm-hmm. Now, the invisible glass ceiling, and by glass ceiling, I mean it refers to us average everyday humans and why we cannot make it past a certain point in business, even if we create an amazing product or we create an amazing service or a medical innovation or whatever it is. And it's more than just where they hunt down scientists and, all of the stories that we've heard and we know are true. Mm-hmm. But I really cannot stress enough, and I've talked about it a little bit, about the non-compete plan that has been written and revised and rewritten to fit every different global power center. So the one that was supposed to be upcoming has a lot to do with China and China becoming the world's power center versus the United States. And this is a plan that has been in play for a long time with the deep state. Mm-hmm. Now, industry control is more than just, for example, preventing you from getting a license, preventing you from making a certain amount of money, being approached by the cabal. There was always a centralized point that was created in order to firstly create the system. But then in addition to that, we have specific raw material control systems that were also put in place. Mm-hmm. So say, for an example, there is a medical technology. Let's just use medical technology because this extends far beyond that into asphalt, into roads, into car parts, into all different kinds of things. Anything under the sun that you could imagine that requires any kind of raw or manufactured raw materials, meaning they have converted them into anything that goes into everything that's in your house. So everything you own, every consumer product has some part to play in this industrial control system. Mm-hmm. So they have created, let's just say the deep state has created a medical technology that is meant to placate your symptoms because they like that. They're not big for cures. They would like to keep you on some kind of medication or something at all times. So this medical technology that they have created requires, let's just say, a specific rare earth mineral in order to function. Now, perhaps there are several technologies that they have created in different industries that require the same raw material to manufacture. And it would be impossible to create another one without that specific raw material. Mm-hmm. So what they do then is they send out groups of operatives, and their job is to go over and take over every single place in the world, in every mining operation in the world that would be responsible for mining this particular rare earth mineral. So let's just say you, Sonny, come along several years later, and you create a similar type technology, but that might actually work better, might actually provide a cure. You know, maybe you are creating a competing product in any one of the industries which they use this rare earth mineral. So here's what's going to happen to you. Now, they get these raw materials for pretty close to free. Therefore, it's a very highly profitable machine for them, number one. Number two, it's serving its function by placating symptoms and not ever having a cure. So that's important to understand, where yours may actually cure over time, let's just say, as an example. And they get them for, you know, a fairly good cost. Therefore, the cost of their device is, let's just say it's $1,000. You know, in the medical world today, there's hardly anything. You can't even get aspirin 7 days in a row in a hospital for $1,000.
True.
But let's just say the cost for this, you know, all intents and purposes for this example is $1,000. Now, you have, you know, tested yours, it's patented, it's proven, it's all of these things. But because you need the same rare earth mineral to produce your machine, the cost for you, what costs them maybe say $1 for X amount of this rare earth mineral, will cost you $10,000.
Wow. Yeah.
Therefore, you're now priced out of the market, because if you had paid $10,000 for this small amount to make one, say, machine, you know, and their machine is $1,000, you could never put yours into the marketplace. You couldn't compete.
Right.
Now, they've done this with every single type of material, from lumber or wood, whatever you call it, down to, you know, another way this is done. This is another perfect example most recently. So Russia produces a specific type of nickel. And this specific type of nickel has specifications that allow it to be used for specialty parts, say in oil drilling or in vehicles or these types of things. Now, in Russia, this currently is the only place in the world that is mining this specific nickel. And they have sanctioned recently, within the last several months, I think it's been about a year now, close to, all of the nickel manufacturing parties in Russia. So all of the companies that produce this specific nickel. And now, because they are all part of the black market operation, or what I call the non-compete program, they still are selling their nickel, but on the black market, and only to their companies that require this specific nickel to manufacture, say, car parts or whatever it is. So there's no harm, no foul on their end of it. They might even get it cheaper, actually, you know, under these circumstances, which is fine by the companies, because they're still making just as much money. Technically, they're using black market routes, so they don't have to pay customs and imports or anything like that, of course. And their companies are still producing these parts. But what it does to you, the car part maker, I'm just using car parts as an example. What it does to you, the car part maker, is you can no longer produce that part that you had, say, a contract with Mercedes or with a, you know, Ford or whomever it is to produce for. So therefore, you now lose all your contracts because you can't make the parts anymore, taking you out of the business. And then therefore, now they have the contracts. It's very sneaky, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Very
you know,
deceitful.
and it goes beyond that. I mean, say you make, there's a a young high school student that recently came out with, won all these awards and everything because he created a soap that actually prevents skin cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guarantee you, if he were to ever go into the manufacturing of these soap on a high level, and it wasn't through, say, Pfizer or one of these places, I guarantee you there was probably an ingredient in there that they own. Whatever that ingredient is. If it's not synthetically made, it's probably organic. And for all I know, it could be even in some kind of an essential oil or a plant extract or something like that that would actually do this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's many of them out there that do. So this, it would be impossible. Yes, he did something very amazing, but he'll never actually profit from it. He'll never actually get anywhere with it. And will 3M, say, ever manufacture it, even though they may have bought the technology, gave him $100,000 or something, patted him on the back, some awards, and sent him on his way? But if he ever went to try to manufacture it himself, even if he had the investment and he wasn't locked out of the financial system for trying to get a loan or some kind of on his patent, then he would be locked out in other ways. So that soap bar, which probably cost him, a few dollars or something like that, USD to make, now goes up to, $40 a bar of soap, and you can't afford $40, for a bar of soap, and there you go. Like there ends that. You're priced out of the market. You're not going to sell anything. I mean, unless it's an anti-aging thing, no one spends $40 to prevent skin. They think, oh, I'll just put my sunscreen on for $5 that I get at Walgreens or whatever your local drugstore, and that'll be the end of that. So this is important to understand at this moment in time, because a lot of you are working on your projects. A lot of you are working on restoration. A lot of you are working on, like we had someone on recently that talked about a different way of doing farming, and not using those products and how expensive it can be, and they know that too. And he's lucky enough to have a farm that's been running for generations, and, he can, afford a little bit, to make a little bit less, on his crops, but that doesn't mean everybody can.
Right.
But I want you to understand this: when you create something and you invent something, you need to also look at, can I source all of this stuff? Now, if mine is a cure for a disease, say, or prevents EMF radiation or something that they're trying to desperately get into you, I guarantee you that once you come out with this specific product in the market, then you are going to be running up against all of these people who specifically are in place to ensure you are not successful. So sourcing raw materials, sourcing all your ingredients for whatever it is you're making, your device, those types of things is equally as important as the execution and manufacturing of your widget, whatever it is. Your cure, even if it's a natural thing, if they could patent plants, they would have patented plants a long time ago. If they could stop you from getting your ingredients, they would have a long time ago. And then there's, of course, crop sabotage. So if, say, yours is an all natural thing and you can derive it from plants, somebody will come in and burn your house to the ground and burn all your crops, overnight, and you won't even know what happened. And this will happen continuously. So the taking down of the deep state and their systems, while cooperatively working with other people like your economic hitmen and those types of folks to undo each one of these systems, put them back into a proper system for sourcing, is just as important as releasing money for projects, because you'll never get anywhere. It's intended, this is the invisible glass ceiling that makes sure that you will never get anywhere in this world and actually get all of your wonderful things out to the people. And I know that's kind of disheartening, but it's a truth that you need to face and you need to understand. Next, if you're growing agriculture, the other thing they'll do is you'll shut your water off. They just did this recently to all the Mexican farmers in a specific area of Mexico. It's been done several times. It's also been done in certain farming areas here in the United States recently. So take a look at the amount of control that they have just by ordering their people around who apparently are willing to work for free.
So Kim, what's the answer to that then? Is it just, what you and your team are doing to take these systems down? Is it just to be patient and wait? Because we're going to come up against this stuff.
Just make sure as you're going forward right now, first of all, number one, can you source the raw materials? Mm-hmm. What is the end cost for you to source these materials? Is my widget, or whatever you plan on building or growing or whatever it is it something that could be targeted later on once I start to manufacture it at this low price, quote unquote? Mm-hmm. And then they find out that I'm, sending out, say, a medical device that actually cures something, are they going to raise the price? Now, you'll probably be visited. That's what will probably happen first. They'll visit you and say, look, we need 10% of all your profits, or we're going to do this to you. Yeah,
that's horrible.
And that's if it's a non-competing item. So they don't have an equal and opposite item. They will also try to buy your technology from you. I've had this happen to me multiple times. I've also had notes and notebooks and different things that I've experimented with stolen from me. So I know these things are going to happen to you. The solution here is, number one, make sure you can source all your materials. Determine whether or not what you're doing could possibly be a target for the deep state. Is this something they want? Is it something they want to take? Do they want to suppress my technology? Just be aware of this. And I know you hate this part. Some people really hate this part. But now do you see the opportunity we have here for operatives? Because there's a lot of guys that are still alive that actually worked as a part of this system and helped create this system back in the, 70s and 80s. They're still around.
Yeah.
They know how this works. They know how it was set up. They know every single person that was involved that they had to take over or push out of the way in order to make this happen. So this is another opportunity for these people to work for something that's positive that will help you out. I'm not saying that, everybody says, oh, why would you want to bring these people into your system? Well, here's another reason why. Mm-hmm. Unless I guarantee you that there are parts of this, and I'm kind of treading lightly on this because we don't want to tip our enemy off to some of the other things that we're doing, as well at the moment. But I'm just giving you a general idea on things that you need to take into account when you're trying to build a new system. Mm-hmm. Another thing that they do, okay, let's say you have a material and you are in a country where you need a port. And as you may or may not know, about 90% of the ports in the world since the 70s have been built by a little tiny company called, and it's not little, but called Halliburton. Halliburton is run by, or was run by, Dick Cheney. Now it's run by whomever. It's closely related to IBM. That's not a surprise there. And if you want a port in your country, you will give the contract to this company one way or another. Now you try to do it on your own. Now all the price of your steel is going to go up. Now your port goes from $100 million port to about $10 billion. Wow. Therefore, you never get a port. The same thing will happen with your train. The same thing that happens when you want to buy a plane to move cargo. That type of thing. Your licensing, everything will get messed up. Anytime you try to introduce something like this somewhere, you're going to get tripped up. All your infrastructure. Unless the system is fixed. Now, will these people that are a part of this system continue to operate basically for free? Mm-hmm. Well, that remains to be seen. Right now, they're fighting tooth and nail to the very end. They are helping us at the moment because they are using anything possible that they could even remotely access for any reason whatsoever to block us. So we've been running transfers, 3-4 an hour for the last few days. And this has actually been quite helpful in us getting any remaining operating systems we might have missed. So now, next. Oh dear. So there's been a lot of shakeups going on in the pharma world. You know, you're hearing about AstraZeneca no longer producing COVID-19 vaccines. Pfizer is not going to be producing COVID-19 vaccines anymore. They are going to turn their focuses elsewhere. And they're unhappy about the fact that they have not gotten their payouts. And then remember, we were supposed to have a second wave of this. Right. We get locked down, we get out again. And that didn't quite work out. And so there's a little bit of a rebellion going on amongst the non-compete program people and the deep state for lack of payment. No surprise here. Insurance companies are also not paying the way that they used to. They're starting to go bankrupt. And things are getting pretty touchy out there. Now, remember as well, the deep state, even though they are deep state corporations, they also take 10% of all the profitability off of all of their personal. It's kind of like a membership program to black market products, you know, black market goods and raw materials and that kind of thing. It's your membership fee, like Amazon, but for bad people.
Yeah, no, there you go. Dark people.
So not only are they still having to pay their 10%, but they're not getting anything for it. Now, there were actually operating systems that manage the siphoning of the 10%. Off of everything. These are accounting softwares, you know, everybody uses the same payroll companies, that type of thing. And so the money goes out the back door and goes to the deep state. Now, that's not a possibility anymore, cutting off another revenue stream for them, which is positive for us. But when this did not happen and we did not have what they were expecting, they have decided that the CDC, the FDA, and the World Health Organization have decided to start circulating rumors about coming out with a new bird flu pandemic. Now, this is mainly to appease the big pharma and other companies that were allegedly going to profit off of the COVID pandemic. Second reason is they are losing control of the people that would have participated in the economic assassination of any competitors. Now, these are operatives too. You know, maybe some of them work with the Raymond Reddington crew. We don't know. But what we are seeing is a definite decline in support. So they launched this opportunity a few days ago, an effort to appease them. But not only that, if you recall, right before the eclipse, they actually announced companies like Airbnb and other major corporations that would be involved, or I should say hindered by another pandemic, which was supposed to happen during the eclipse. Now, everybody is yelling and screaming because nothing happened during the eclipse, and there was no lockdown, and there was no payouts to lockdown, or none of that stuff happened. And so they had to come up with something else. And this is the latest and greatest rumor. Do they have the capacity to create a worldwide bird flu pandemic? No. This is just to push them off to another day ending in Y. And the best I can tell, that day ending in Y is either Monday or Tuesday of next week. And then I guess they're going to try to create the cat flu pandemic or some other kind of pandemic. I'm not sure at this point, but that's where it's at right now. So do I see that as a possibility of a worldwide shutdown? You know, honestly, without the 10%, without, you know, they were the only stores that were open. You know, you remember that. After a while, they reopened. I do not think they can afford to do that. And if they did, it would cut their nose off to spite their face, because any dribbles of income they have that they're siphoning off of airlines and Lockheed Martin and Boeing, it would go away immediately. So I wish them all the best in trying to achieve that task. But then again, it's another one of those situations where they just keep telling everybody they're going to get something on an alignment and then nothing happens, which is proving positive for us in a lot of ways.
Well, it does make sense as to why we're seeing different things in the headlines about bird flu. I had a bad feeling about that the moment I saw it. I'm like, oh, really? Something else?
Yep, really, something else. I don't know what it'll be next, but they're gonna, they need to put another spin on it. How do you explain to a bunch of corporate owners that really don't know a whole lot? Some of them probably do, but a lot of them really don't know a whole lot about, they think that just naturally happened. How many times can you cry wolf? Apparently if you're deep state, you can cry wolf an awful lot and claim that you're in control an awful lot, or you're going to be in control by a day ending in Y, an awful lot. And everybody just believes you.
It's amazing.
Yep. But they have very little left and time is running short, and there are people hunting them down as well on the other side. And that's going very well. As far as I know, there's a lot of people that are trying to buy their freedom in some way, shape, or form with promises that they probably have no intention on delivering on either. But that's up to the Raymond Reddingtons of the world, to determine whether they mean it or they didn't. And you get a contract, you get a paying contract. Are you going to believe these people? Most of the times it hasn't worked out the way they thought it would. Yeah. Okay, now other ongoing operations. As promised, we have set forth in motion many back-end operations that are continuously going black one after the other. These are operating systems that are still operating, but the back end of it is not visible. Right. So it's not programmable, it's not accessible. Therefore, their ability to get into some of these back systems is gone. Now, some of those things include, but are not limited to, 1G versions 1 through 9, 2G versions 1 through 9, 3G versions 1 through 9, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now, 8 and 9 and 7 were not really accessible by them at all anyway, but by humans. But it was utilized in other ways against us. Okay. There are operating systems as far as towers, cell phone towers, and stuff like that are concerned. There have been some attempts to utilize technologies they did not have access to, but were left here by others. I know that. They were in Tallahassee last night. They were in Boca Raton this morning. So, there's no shortage of running around, that hamster wheel. We are less a lot of people with global headquarters.
How many would you say?
Various locations. They don't send too many people, but probably in the last 48 hours, maybe 100 and some change, because they don't send too many people there.
Just in case it doesn't turn out in their favor.
Yeah, and they're kind of all scattered. They're, making sure they're not all in the same place. And I really wish they would have a convention just make it easy.
Me too.
Let it happen. I mean, don't you guys have a Bilderberg meeting type thing or a Bohemian Grove thing you do every year? Probably around some solstice or something. Come on, guys. Gather together.
Seriously. Yeah.
Saying, why can't we be friends? I don't know. Just do something. But it's going very, very well on our side of it. The more transfers we attempt and send out, the more they try to block us. They pull out all the stops, and then we find everything they've got.
So how are they viewing, because it sounds like we've taken a lot of stuff away from them. Yep. How are they viewing these transactions?
And that was the thing that was kind of perplexing. So we have done our best to try to get as many operating systems as we could.
Yeah.
And when I say there was an operating system for everything, there was an operating system for everything. And one of the things they were using, and it was a reminder for me to remind you about the pinch points, was the corporate back end system where they siphoned their 10% out, their fee. There were other fees for banks. There were other lines into different things that were tied to the Black Eagle position. So they were able to utilize some of these things to get into, to at least view, and then eventually when we ran into like the transmission control protocol section, alter it enough so that our stuff would get lost or it would never make it to the customer portal. So, you know, still a little bit more than I thought, honestly. But, you know, this is, you know, millions of years against us and lots of alien help. So it's not like they arrived at these conclusions themselves.
Do you still feel like it's alien tech holding back the transfers? It's nothing directly they're doing.
They did not create this stuff.
Yeah, but they're not doing anything that would stop it. I mean, I know they're trying to do stuff, but is that actually what's stopping the transfers, do you think? Or it's just stuff they don't even have control over?
We've had a combination of things happen in the last couple of days because we're probably about 50 into it, you know, or so, maybe more. It takes probably about 45 minutes to an hour to run a full cycle and see what happens. In some cases, we have run into something called a standing order. So it would be alien technology that has a standing order that was not placed there by humans, but by others it's not so much specifically monetary. It could be energetic wise, energy control, replicator systems where if we get $1, they get $1, you know, that kind of thing. So we've seen a lot more of that. A few times we have seen a few things that are alien technology as well, but perhaps by covenant or agreement, these people had some limited access to that they were able to use. You know, again, when we get hung up, we're still getting hung up at the very bottom. It's not like it's, you know, like they caused a port 490 error today at the, you know, at the customer portal level. So if those of you techie people out there, you'll know what that is. So we fixed it. And hopefully, you know, we're right. Hopefully we are not too far away, you know, from being able to do that. We will continue throughout the day. I am sure all of you, no matter where you are in the world watching this, will hear me scream.
Me too.
It has been a battle beyond battles, you know, to get to these points. You know, we did have also a few things left regarding the Trinity. This is another one to kind of explain to you sort of how this works. So, you know, we've talked about us changing timelines, us changing ages, us going into crystalline time, Earth getting cleaner, Earth getting lighter, and all of these processes that are happening throughout the multiverse. Well, again, there were some agreements that had to do with not only AI systems, but also had to do with the creation of matter itself. That were between source, anti-source, and neutral source, which created a trinity source. So some of those base root programs of creation are going away, which also affects us in computers too, because there was a tri-key factor, and with no other key on the other end. You know, if you have a dual key system, like maybe you have to enter your key code and your spouse has to enter their key code or the other half or whatever to open the house safe. It's kind of like that. So without, you know, anything going to the other side, their brood, you know, to try to make it even in a war, you know, then it triggers some other type of response there. So it's been kind of those types of things. It's like I said, they're still running around hacking, and God bless them. They're still running around trying to make promises of payments and gateways opening and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, it's all a lie. everybody will figure out some point in time it's all a lie. And quite frankly, when we are successful and if you hear just like you're sleeping maybe and you hear some lady screaming, it's probably me, because I finally made it.
Throughout the multiverse is going to hear
That's right. I won't even need to put out word to anybody, operatives or otherwise, that we're open for business, because, you'll all hear me. But so I mean, everything's going very well. We're going according to plan as far as the operations are concerned. We are developing a system for the invisible glass ceiling situation. I suggest you also take these things into consideration with what you're planning on manufacturing, and account for proper security. Should that need to be the case for whatever it is you're producing. Let's put it that way. I think you're all going to need it. That's my personal opinion.
Is that something, though, CARE would provide? Kim, didn't we talk about that a little bit before, about CARE taking on some of those responsibilities for the projects?
Yes, and that's something we will provide. We need people for that, right? So our people for that would be the ones that are experienced in doing this themselves to other people, because they'll know every way they think, every which way they could have caused this situation to arise. They know exactly what to look for when it comes to protecting you and your project. But what I'm saying is when you're putting together your business plan, you need to account for this in every single project that you're doing. Just think about what they're going to look for, and realize that this is going to be a factor for everyone. And yes, we expect to see that on just about everything coming out of CARE for a while, because I don't see another way around it. I mean, I can run around and try to fix it, but I'm certainly not going to do that all by myself. There's a lot of people involved that have been living on 10% of everything for their quote unquote protection and services and black market goods and, free oil, free gas, free stuff. So our stuff, speaking of stuff, our stuff offer was still out there. We're still willing to take some stuff.
No one's reached out as of yet?
Nah. They're still listening to these global headquarters people. I think they like this. They like being lied to, cheated, stolen from, all the stuff, all the good stuff.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, and waiting. They're good waiters. You would think that there would be no shortage of waiters at restaurants, because they're waiters. They wait. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So how many are going to jump, when everything is available? I don't know.
It'll be interesting. Yeah.
Until then, we're watching hamsters and waiters.
What a world. What a world.
What a world. What a world.
So interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Well, it's good to hear that, the transfers are happening a lot. I think people like to hear that, that we're testing and then we're finding more of their stuff. And
testing,
then it's
find, clean, run again, find, clean, run again.
Yeah.
Until we're done. But, safety is going to be first. Security is going to be first. That is going to be our number one priority, to keep all of you safe and to keep the things that you're creating safe, and also to distribute them safely. So these are all things that you need to take into consideration. Also, customs fees. How do you get around customs fees? There's a black market for that.
Of course.
By the way. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just not invited to the club. And even 10% isn't going to get you invited to the club, unless you know the club owners.
Right.
So, or the other people that transport lots of things that are, let's just say, not things we might agree with, but they can get anything in and out of anywhere.
I'm sure.
So there's positives, negatives. I'm not saying we're going to all sit around the campfire and sing songs and eat s'mores anytime in the near future, but there's definitely business to be had.
Yeah.
Lots of it. So I'm looking forward to moving forward and that being said, we're about a few minutes away here from doing more transfers.
All right. Well, hop to it.
I'm going to.
Thanks, Kim. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good, Sunny.
Want to share news from UNN? Help us change the face of social media and use it for good. Connect with us through our online channels. Our social media team creates clips from each newscast you can easily share with people you care about. That's also where you'll find our UNN meme of the day, a great way to encourage critical thinking. Links to all our social media sites are available at the bottom of our website at unitednetwork.earth. Let's change the face of news together.
And that wraps up today's news update. Please share UNN with your friends and family. We need everyone to come together and help restore our planet. When news happens in your area, record and share it with us so together we can share it with the world. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm Sunny Galt. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the real news.